Hello, I'm Bridgette Beam. It's a great pleasure to be here. I love Startup Grind. It's always an energetic, fun crowd of people. And it's a huge pleasure to have Steve with us here today. As you guys, many of you know, he's had an incredibly impressive career here in the Valley, starting as a software engineer at PayPal, and then as the CTO of YouTube, and has gone on to be at Google, started earlier at eBay. Hugely impressive career. We don't have time to talk about it all, so we're going to start by focusing on YouTube. I'd love to hear how and why you left PayPal to start YouTube.
Sure. Well, I moved out originally to the Bay Area as part of PayPal when I think there were about 11 people total in the company. And the first day that I started at PayPal, I met Chad Hurley, who was the other co-founder of YouTube. And I think it was a great experience that not many people have because when you go from a small company, we've got the chance to be able to see what it was like, all the challenges of starting a company, and especially during sort of that 99-2000 dot-com era, where you have to be pretty frugal with in calculating about how you're spending your money. And all the way through sort of going through that phase, going public, and then the acquisition and what that was like with the eBay acquisition and trying to integrate two companies together. After that, I think in about at the end of 2004, 2005, there was a final project that I worked on, which was launching PayPal in China, which today doesn't exist anymore. But that was the first time where I managed a group of engineers, and that was a great experience leading into the YouTube experience. But when I left PayPal, I just thought that at that time, still without kids and still in my 20s, if I didn't leave at that time, there was just not going to be the opportunity for me to be able to have the time to start something. So we started meeting up and talking about different ideas with Chad, and that's when we came up with the idea for YouTube.
Okay. And then you went on to leave in 2005, correct?
Right.
And work together and build a team to create YouTube, the platform. And you were the CTO and one of the lead software engineers. And since this topic is around building for the next billion, when you started YouTube, did you think about reaching 1 billion users? And if, and sort of the infrastructure and the technology that you used, and if you didn't, what things did you have to change along the way?
No, I think a big problem always is, or a big question for starting a company is when you actually put the spike down into the ground to say this is what YouTube 1.0 looks like. Yeah. And I think oftentimes you push that sort of finish line further and further back. And I thought, YouTube 1.0, for example, didn't have a search function because the idea was we didn't have any videos. You can find all the videos on YouTube by just visiting the website. You didn't need a search function. So we tried to calculate, what do we actually need?
None of us can believe that now.
What do you actually need for the first day or the first week or the first month? And the sooner you can get it out, the better. And you can, especially on the web, it's a little bit more difficult now with iOS, with Android apps, where there's a longer time to be able to push a new feature out for it to get released. But certainly on the web, you can make multiple pushes in a single day. So as soon as new features were implemented, committed into the code base, they would be seen in minutes to the public. So I think still followed to this day, the mantra is to always kind of push that earlier the better, and then you can start getting the feedback about certain features that the users are actually using, certain features that users aren't using, and then sort of pivot the product around that user experience.
That's great. Yeah, I know that rapid prototyping model is now sort of widely used, but I'm sure back then, not that you're old, but was definitely not as prevalent. One thing that I love is about the YouTube story is a lot of founders really focus on capital. Like, I don't have any money to start my company, and I need to get an angel investor right away when I have an idea. And you guys had some capital from PayPal being purchased, but I understand that most of YouTube was financed on your credit card. Can you tell me how that happened?
So this was in 2005, and it kind of follows on the decision that I made that, if I don't venture out and try to do something on my own, I just wouldn't have this opportunity later on. So the sort of two check marks that I made was if 2 years passed and whatever we started or whatever I was working on didn't pan out, and that could actually include multiple things or multiple startups to try and venturing out onto multiple areas. or if whatever I had saved up from eBay or
Expired.
yeah, so if I ran out of money or ran out of time, I would have to go back to work at PayPal or eBay again. Luckily, and it came down pretty close to running out of money. It was about 9 months. It was self-funded, and towards the end of, right before we received funding from Sequoia Capital, I didn't know that you could do this. I was reaching my credit card limit on a monthly basis, but you can actually pay your credit card multiple times throughout the month. And if you do that, then you can actually 2x, 3x, whatever your credit card limit is for the month.
I'm just running the conversation between you and Chad, which is like, who's going to put their credit card down? But it was lucky that it was you, I guess, in the end, because you were nice enough to pay it off multiple times.
I got a lot of Amazon points.
A lot of Amazon points. Endless miles forever. One thing I think is interesting is, especially coming from the PayPal background, where it's much more focused on monetization very early on, same with eBay, you guys chose not to monetize. You chose not to have advertising on YouTube, even up to the acquisition. Can you tell me why and about that decision?
I think there are two aspects of sort of perspectives on that question, right? I think there is, from a pure product standpoint, it's just the easy way to advertise or monetize YouTube would have been to just put pre-rolls and interstitials, ads in front of videos. And just video ads actually make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, I think it's about the user experience. The virality of the website really stemmed from me liking the experience and sharing it with my friends, with my family. And if you put 15-second pre-rolls, 30-second pre-rolls, especially if the ads have nothing to do with the content that you're watching, or if every video is prefixed with 15 seconds of content that you don't want to watch, that really tarnishes, I think, that experience overall. So when we were asked the exact same question when we were pitching the idea to Sequoia, which was, what is your monetization strategy? And it was always that if we wanted to, we could always put ads in front of the videos. But really the focus is still about the users, the user experience, the number of videos uploaded, number of users that are getting created every day, number of videos watched. And we just thought that as long as we can keep that up at an affordable rate, we can always figure out the monetization afterwards. And I think I was always inspired by the way that Google was able to monetize. I think that there are kind of three parties at stake on Google. There are the people that conduct the searches, there are the people that are monetizing, and they're the websites themselves. And that translates over, I think, to YouTube, which is, I think there are people that pay for ads, there are the people that create the content, and there are people that are viewing this content. And if there was a way that we could come up with a strategy that makes all three of those parties happy at the same time, it's a win-win-win situation. And so that, for us, was trying to keep that until we can actually figure out that product. We wouldn't put in ads. And luckily, after the acquisition, we were able to produce a product that everybody liked.
Yeah, it's great. It's interesting. It's a great segue to my next question. Thank you. As around the acquisition, you guys, it's almost a record-breaking acquisition. So you started the product. I think the domain was registered in 2005, and you were acquired in 2006. Can you tell me about the decision to get acquired so quickly, and just the process that you guys went through to decide who would acquire you? Because I know you had a number of offers on the table.
I think that, if I remember correctly, there were about 65 employees that were working at YouTube when the acquisition happened, right? And it was, I think in some ways, YouTube grew too quickly. We hired all the engineers that we had emails to still at PayPal. We hired the entire team, as many people as we knew, but we just needed more people. And then at the time, there were two big things that I remember. There was mobile. There was a lot of ask for getting YouTube, bringing the YouTube experience onto mobile, that we didn't have anybody at YouTube at the time that had any experience doing that, and internationalization. So I think it came right after the acquisition by Google, but over 50% of the traffic, and it's much, much more now, but over 50% of the traffic was coming from outside the US. And so we had to figure out what that sort of internationalization strategy, and that encompasses localizing the website, translating the website, but also as we start launching and putting servers into data centers around the world, you actually have a physical presence there, and so there's the legal and the copyright, which, with YouTube, we were always fighting on a daily basis. So I think that we it was a decision that Chad and I made that it's for us as well as best for the company that we needed to be sort of partner up with a larger company. And I think we broke some records with the amount of time that it took. So from the time the decision was made, I remember it was on a Tuesday night, we made the decision that we were going to sell the company, where we were going to be acquired. Got together with the board to get the board's approval that this is okay, that we want to sell the company. And then had a meeting with two companies, really. It was with Yahoo and twice with Google, all at the same Denny's restaurant in Redwood City down the street. Why
Denny's? I just have to ask.
The idea, well, so the first meeting was with Yahoo, and we didn't want to meet at the Yahoo headquarters because we thought that as soon as we were there, it was going to be sort of, I don't know, it was going to be gossip that they were going to sell the company. And we then had to pick a restaurant. And there's so many things in Palo Alto that actually all the sort of venture capitalists were going to be at. So we thought if there's a restaurant that we're not going to find any investors in, it would probably be Denny's. So it's right off of Woodside Road there. And we met at Denny's. And then it was kind of an inside joke with Chad and myself when we started picking a spot with Google. It was, where do you guys want to meet at? We knew we couldn't meet at the Google campus, and we thought, wouldn't it be funny if we sat at the same table,
at Denny's,
unbeknownst to the people at Google, that we had just met the CEO of Yahoo the day before. And so anyway, so it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we had two meetings with Google, and Google just moved a lot faster. There were a lot of sort of things stuck in the legal quagmire of what we needed to do to make that acquisition happen. I think just for all acquisitions, but we really wanted to push that through. And so all throughout that weekend, it was pretty much working and sleeping at the legal offices. And then on Monday evening, right after the market closed, was when the announcement was made. And I think there's still a video up on YouTube today, my most popular video, where we announced we forgot to make the announcement to the users of YouTube. And so after we did all the celebration, we ran outside and filmed a quick video, kind of thanking the users and just saying, this is what's happening.
Yeah, I think you guys had consumed some alcohol before that video. I've seen it before.
Yeah, it was rosy red, yeah.
It was awesome. It's a great video if you guys have a chance. They're like, we just sold our company, and we really loved you guys. And it actually showed a lot about how you cared about the user base, and you guys obviously had put them first in terms of advertising and lots of other things. I also heard that you used to choose the top 10 videos that would be featured every day personally. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, for gosh, I don't know how long, but that was so right before I went to sleep every night. It was viewing the top 10 videos, and I was always trying to, I don't know how this translates to the actual videos that I picked, but the idea behind it was not to pick the most popular videos viewed that day, but it was trying to showcase examples of the way that the YouTube platform could be utilized. And so if there was somebody that was shooting a video from North Africa and actually uploading it, they may have gotten only 100 views throughout the day, but we would feature that just to be able to say this is another way. So you didn't find many sort of dancing cat videos on the front page because those received so many views. You can just find that through. But it's more about trying to find, there was Hurricane Katrina when that happened, and that was definitely featured on the front page because essentially all the videos that were actually shot of Hurricane Katrina came from people's personal phones. And so, it was trying to really feature like political content, international content that people didn't automatically link up in their heads. This could be a use for YouTube.
Yeah, it's actually something I've thought a lot about. So if you look at the evolution of YouTube, and now you have people who are demonstrating their video game skills on YouTube and have millions of views. But you also have this side of like political upheaval, people being able to have an individual voice, and just the incredible amount of content users can create from anything from makeup, but also if they want to disrupt or showcase something that's happening in their country that they don't like. And I'm just curious, what has surprised you in all of the chaos and glory and beauty that has become YouTube? What has surprised you most about the use of the platform and sort of how it's evolved?
I remember there was one night I turned on, what was it, like the 6 p.m. news, and there's typically sort of one big feature story followed by a commercial and then two additional stories. And I was shocked to see there was something about, somebody filming, somebody that was on taking a train on from Oakland into San Francisco, and they saw somebody punching somebody else on the Oakland train. But the big thing that surprised me was all three of the featured stories on the news that night were actually using YouTube videos. And it was a shock to say, like, what we created this originally for, and then to this day that you're actually seeing on primetime TV, primetime news, like, this is user-generated content that's actually the source of the stories, of the primetime stories that are using for the news. And there's a lot of other events when, I think the presidential elections with all the videos of President Obama, at the time using YouTube as a way to be able to get a story out. We never thought that was going to be, this platform that we built was going to evolve into that scale.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing. I mean, I watch YouTube. I actually watched last night, my husband sent me a video of Queen versus Kanye singing Bohemian Rhapsody. It was pretty funny, but I pity Kanye for that as well. But you just think about, like, there's supposed to be a joke. It's okay, you don't have to laugh. I mean, I did actually watch the video. But I just think about just that ability for users to speak out and to think about the cultural change that's had around the world in individual communities and the voice that it's given individual people. But I'd love to transition quickly because this is something I've wondered about a long time. You were part of the very early PayPal team. I'll rat you out a little bit here. Your senior year in college, you decided to leave school without graduating, which I'm sure your parents were thrilled about, and moved to the Silicon Valley and joined the PayPal team, so one of the early employees. And then we've seen a lot of these founders from PayPal go on to start a ton of companies to the point that they're now called the PayPal Mafia. And I'd love to hear why do you think that happened? Is there a culture that came out of that company that PayPal sort of bred, or was it all of you guys together that really inspired you to go out and as a group become serial entrepreneurs?
Right. No, it's not the first time I've been asked that question. I mean, it's kind of a bit theoretical because I'm not sure of what motivated the other guys to leave PayPal to start. But I think for us, especially for the three co-founders, Chad, Javed, and myself, we all came from PayPal. I think, and we were all early employees at PayPal, and I think going from sort of 99 to 2005, as I mentioned before, we got a chance to see what it was like when it was under 15, 20 people. We had a chance to see what it was like being very frugal with sort of what investments we did receive before the dot-com crash and through the acquisition. And I think that a big thing for us was to be able to see that the co-founders of PayPal, Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, they really had no experience with banking and payments whatsoever. And so it was about an idea, and it was actually about building that idea. And to be frank, we didn't know anything about video when we started YouTube. It was kind of just figuring out, I mean, it was trying out the 220 different audio codecs and the video codecs, and then we found out, should we use QuickTime, Windows Media Player, Real Player, and then we finally settled on Flash. But that was all sort of first started based on the motivation of this idea and making it work, and then figuring out the technical know-how to be able to get this to work. And all the engineers that we hired, I don't think a single one has ever done video before. And I think that that's the main motivators for people that actually have worked at PayPal and have worked alongside Peter and Max, and to be able to say that if they had an idea, they can actually go out and try it. And at the end of the day, I don't think you can have whatever the chances are, the risks are always high for starting a new company. But I think with as many people, the alums of PayPal, they do go out and try it because they see they've gone through what they've gone through, and they've also seen all these other people start companies like Yelp and Slide and YouTube, and when they do get an idea, they go out and try it themselves.
It probably kind of dispelled the myth that they have to be all-knowing. I'd love to talk about your co-founder, Chad. So you met the first day of PayPal, and then you've went on over 15 years to start a number of companies together, an accelerator. I know you've worked on a lot of projects together. A lot of startups fail because of internal conflict, and a lot of times between founders. Can you tell us a little bit about how your relationship works and why you think it works?
I think that Chad was always the designer and I was always the engineer, and I think we always met together on the product, right? Yeah. And so I mean, I'm colorblind. I can't see the colors. I can't really distinguish between a good design and a bad design. And so I think the complete hands-off approach, and you know, same thing. I think that Chad never had any programming experience. So that hands-off approach is really good to say that everything that's siloed in the engineering side, you're going to own. Everything that's siloed in the design side, I'm going to own. And then the product discussions, I think they became very productive because we were able to talk about what we wanted the product to be. And then as soon as we made those decisions, we would be able to kind of run off to our silos to actually implement it. So there was not a lot of, I think when startups are started by multiple engineers, there's a lot of discussion about, you know, how should we implement this thing? And to be quite honest, many of the implementations are all fine. It's more about just getting it out and getting it finished. And so we never had that problem when it was Chad and myself.
Yeah, that's great. Well, my last question for you is if you were going to start another startup today, what would it be and why?
Well, I think it's hard to be living in Silicon Valley without working on a startup of some sort. And so I think...
Are you alluding to something?
Well, there's a co-founder, Vijay, who I've known for 25 years. We went to high school together, we went to college together, and we worked at YouTube together. And we're working on something that's going to be launched at South by Southwest, so I think just a little over 2 weeks away. And it's a site and an app for anyone that enjoys food. It's a little bit different from YouTube, but I think if you know what the term sous vide means, if you know what a green egg is, Nam, the site, is for people like you. And that's just something that Vijay and we found out that every time we got together, we were always talking about food and technology. So we merged the two together, and that's what the site is.
Well, that's really exciting. I look forward to seeing it launch in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us.